Hey everybody, it's Winston. Traits have been out for a little bit. Let's talk about traits. I haven't really been looking at traits as basic, advanced, elite, or exalted. I look at them and put them in three groups. I put them in control, damage, and healing / defense. Gotta have a slashy in there. So let's actually start by talking about how those are different. So with control skills, those are used to stop the enemy from doing something or force them to do something else. Potentially weaken your enemy and potentially strengthen your heroes. Damage skills are great for increasing the damage of a hero, increasing the critical strike of a hero. They're also useful as a damage over time. And then finally, they give heroes with short range, long range. So your critical strike may be a great way to reach out and slap a dude in the back. This is in the back line. This has got a 3 range distance. Healing and defense are very useful. Any hero with heal basically is carrying a free health vial around with them. Free cleanse opens up multiple slots on the priest. You could not use freedom. You could not use the cleanse skill of the priest. Also, these skills will make the knights tougher. They're great for adding stronger defense to heroes in the face of a channeled attack. So if you see Mama working on her wild charge or Rockbach Mama is doing the gust, you can use some of these skills to increase your defense. Also, they fucking bring dudes back from the dead, so don't don't count that out. That's extremely useful. So let's talk about each of these in the settings in groups that I've kind of put them in today. Control skills, that's going to be blinding winds, speed, daze, exhaust, and stun. Blinding winds is kind of a sleeper, man. I've been blinded by the box a bajillion times and it like kind of ruins my game, so blinding them back feels amazing, and with an 80% chance to blind, I think that is huge. Blind is such a game changer, like the entire game, because it can't be, you have to cleanse it or remove it. It doesn't just drop off like some of the other skills. The next control skill is speed. I call this a control skill because you're controlling the battlefield with your hero. You're gonna make them 20% faster for 30 ticks, and really the control aspect is this gain 500 initiative. This is gonna just jump your turn up. Like, it's a big if your guy is going to be after a baby that turns into a demon bok, you can use this to jump them ahead of it and get a turn before that. So I think you're controlling the battle in that way. Next is daze. Daze is I'd call it a sleeper, except it's pretty obvious how great it is. You deal a bit of damage and then you have a chance to daze your target. This will knock a channeler out of channeling. It will push an enemy's turn back a little bit. Lots of uses for daze, so I think we'll be seeing this one all over the place. Next is exhaust. Everybody loves exhaust. You deal a bit of damage and then you have a 50% chance to exhaust. So exhaust is going to break channeling and end whatever is going on in that enemy's turn, and then on their next turn they're going to have a 50% reduction and only be able to basic attack or something like that. So exhaust is incredibly useful. We love exhaust. Next we have stun. Stun deals the most damage of any skill at 1.4 times power. Has a 70% chance to stun the target enemy for 1 turn. Stun rules. It'll knock them out of channeling. I believe that there is a bug right now that it doesn't block rampage, but it should. So I think we're gonna get that fixed. And those are your control skills. Let's move on to damage. Damage skills are really useful for increasing the output and critical strike chance of your big hits. Start with Deathmark. Deathmark's gonna deal pretty decent damage up front, 1.2 times power, and then an 80% chance to inflict a 15% increased damage for 40 ticks. This is great to use right before a large attack, like if you're planning to use sharpshooter for channeling or something. This will be great for that. This will hit them very hard, and then 40 ticks should be pretty close to sticking in with the basic attack. Next you got explosion. We decided explosion was too good, so it got an amnesia. This will deal a 1.5 power, the most damage of any trait to a target enemy, and then about half of that to each other. Very useful skill for any knight, warrior, any hero that is going to struggle to hit the back line. This is going to hit all of them, and you can also pick which one gets the most damage, so it's very useful. Next is critical aim. This one has a 35% chance to critical strike, and then the hero gains 20% critical strike chance for 2 turns. I think that this might be a little OP just because you can queue things up that hit really hard when they have a critical strike. So if you use this before a final blow, or if you use this before a sharpshooter, or especially sharpshooter, 20% for both this one and the basic attack for sharpshooter and the basic attack after is brutal. So critical aim, very useful. If you have 2 archers in one game with critical aim, they can hit very hard. And then finally, you've got Poison Blade. Poison Blade is a damage dealer and then a dot. So this is going to be pretty useful. I would like to see a buff to this because it is just it is the only pure damage dealer of the group. I think the other ones do more, so hopefully we can see a buff for this one. Now let's look at defense/healing. I think it's defense/healing and not healing/defense because there's really 2 abilities that that heal. You've got, of course, heal, which is like a health vial. Any dude carrying this around just has a health vial with them, their own personal sip. This is great. I mean, this is just going to save you health vials later. Next is cleanse. This would be great if you don't use a hero with cleanse, so now you've got one with you all the time. Great for removing bleed in a bad situation, or clearing blind or confuse, that kind of stuff. It's wonderful for that. So you got warriors and knights out there cleansing. It's a beautiful thing. Iron Skin, wonderful tool to use when you know a big attack is coming. So if Mama is channeling something, great time to use Iron Skin to reduce some of the physical damage. Hardened Shield is like Iron Skin on crack. It's a shorter duration, but it's even more defense, so you're taking 30% less damage. Next is Second Wind. This is a great skill to use to kind of save your bacon, restore 50% of missing HP, and then each ally is healed for half of what that is. So that's going to be a team heal, extremely useful. And then finally, we've got Resurrection. This is the only exalted active trait right now, and so there was some discourse on how powerful it should be. We came out of the gate probably not powerful enough, so the content creators tricked us into making it stronger. Homie dies, you can return them to life with 35% of their max health, a pure ward for 20 ticks, and they're going to be exhausted for 1 turn. Now remember, a pure ward is when it is damaged, it will heal the dude for the amount of damage or something like that. Pure ward. Don't worry about it. So that's how I'm breaking them up. I think control, damage, defense, healing is the way to go. And personally, I think a little mix of all of them is very useful. Yeah, thanks. After this, in this next video, we are going to apply that. It's going to be more of a practical video where we fight some boars. Thanks for watching.